Thank you very much for having us here. And good afternoon and good morning to everybody in the different time zones. I'm VJ, the CEO of Vipa Corporation. And we are here, as what Shri has said, to talk about iCDN and data clean rooms in the media industry. The general idea is to discover post-cookies era data clean rooms made to serve the media and broadcast industry. The use of interactive content delivery network powered by leading CDN enables networks to provide the most powerful data clean rooms made to serve the media and TV broadcasters. And leading the presentation today is our very own Chief Science Officer, Dr. Ahmad Moradi, who is a 43-year veteran in the ICT industry. He's got a PhD in AI, symbolic AI, and also presidential gold medals from the US president. So he's our chief speaker. And also joining us is Dr. Francis Teo, who is an enterprise architect for AI and the man behind our responsive AI and digital humans that will be presented in the digital clean rooms. And we also have Mr. Patrick Ting of K Media Marketing, is the group sales manager, the visionary that has actually transformed traditional media to become a real-time newsroom. Mr. Patrick, good afternoon
Yes,
to everybody.
good afternoon.
So I will start with Mr. Patrick. I think it will be good that if you could share with our audience K Media's digital transformation journey from a print media, radio broadcast, and publication company to a real-time newsroom, a K room, which is a data clean room, transitioning from a newspaper to a newsroom. Over to you, Mr. Patrick.
Good afternoon, everyone. And good morning to those who are from the different time zones. Thank you, Vijay, for the introduction. My name is Patrick Ding. Once again, I'm the General Manager for Sales for K Media Marketing. Now, for your information, K Media Marketing is the marketing arm for various platforms. Xinhua Daily News, the Chinese newspaper, the Borneo Post, the English newspaper, the Utusan Borneo, the Bahasa Malaysian newspaper based in Sabah, Sarawak. And we also market for the radio station TFM, as well as Oriental Daily News, which is based in Peninsula Malaysia. So for decades, we serve the people in Sabah, Sarawak, in the hearts of the island of Borneo. Xinhua Daily News was established in 1952. So this year we are into 71 years of existence. And Borneo Post and Utusan Borneo were both established in 1978. We are the advocates of journalism in the region. For years, we have been the trusted voices providing news to generations of readers, and we have earned the trust and influence from the readers in Sabah Sarawak in particularly. And as you know, the golden era of newspaper came before 2013 when business was booming. People rely on newspapers for their daily dose of information, and advertisers found the print medium highly lucrative. But however, as we speak today, the world moved toward digitalization. The newspaper began to feel the vibration of change. The decline actually began way back 10 to 15 years ago. It only accelerated when the outbreak of the pandemic. People were turning to digital platforms for news more than ever, in particularly in social media. And the advertisers were shifting their budgets accordingly. So the once thriving print industry was now facing an existential crisis. On the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, I must add that, and I must also acknowledge that we at K Media Marketing, we have embarked our digital journey through the establishment of online and social media since 2010. And our unique visitor, our page views have grown, but the digital advertising growth is growing very slowly, mainly due to the effect of the programmatic where the advertisers are looking at bulk buy and higher discounts. So this has affected our revenue stream for the past 5 or 6 years. So amidst this crisis, our top management recognized the urgency of change, but yet we face a challenging dilemma: how to convince our stakeholders that a digital transformation was not only necessary, but is the only way forward. So during this challenging time, and you can call it a turbulent, we found our ally in Vipa Malaysia. Vipa understood our challenges. Vipa understood what we are facing, and together we started charting a path toward digital transformation. Change was hard, so it required a complete shift of mindset and complete overhaul of our whole engine. So we needed to explain to our stakeholders, particularly our employees, why this transformation was not just an option, but a lifeline. So we also have to ensure that majority of our workforce will be able to be willing to embark on this digital journey together. So our management, after much deliberation, decided to take the leap. So this is because we have seen the print revenue decline rapidly, and the digital ad revenue wasn't picking up as quickly as we hoped. So we made a bold decision about 6 months ago. We decided to undergo a digital transformation, embracing digital technology and partnering with Vipa in March this year to bring the vision to life. And thus, K-Room was born a couple of months later. I believe was in May or June, sometime around there. So K-Room is not just a digital platform for news. It was a revolution. We retain the values of trust and reliability that we as a publisher have built over the years, while adapting to the changing times where readers are still engaging our brands that they have been trusted for the past 60 to 70 years. So K-Room will feature reliable news content in a private and secure environment. And with the three publications of Xihua Daily News, the Borneo Post, Utusan Borneo, and TFM, as well as Oriental Daily News. And K-Room will also carry the live event Watch Party, a brand that called Tech Talk was created to share the content of technology and digital transformation. And we have done at least 8 events since July 27 this year. And K-Room is also a video conferencing platform where the subscribers and the user can invite their audience to meet virtually. Hence, K-Room is read, watch, and meet. So we envision that the readers will embrace K-Room along the way. And advertisers will see the potential of reaching a highly engaged digital audience in a private and secure environment, a data clean room. Although our newspaper's journey from ink and paper to pixels and screen is challenging, but I think this is a testament of our resilience and determination to evolve. So at the end, we hope to see the digital transformation that we are embarking will complement our newspaper and online media businesses. So K-Room will become a symbol of our adaptability and willingness to change with times, proving that even the oldest 71 years of Xihua Daily News, even the oldest institution could strive in the digital age with the right vision and partners by our side. So more importantly, I want to share with all our audience this afternoon that K-Room has also created the opportunity for the new revenue stream, which will also help us to retain our employees with new skill set to meet the requirement of the digital economy. So this is the story of K Media Marketing and myself on this digital transformation journey. Back to you, Vijay.
Thank you very much for a sterling explanation how a 70-year-old trusted media publication company going through their transformation and collaborating probably for the first time with a tech company that is Vipa in mapping out their future and also creating new jobs, new skill sets, new business models, and new opportunities. And now, without much delay, I would like to hand over to our Dr. Ahmad Moradi so that we can take a journey through iCDN and data clean rooms. Over to you, Dr. Moradi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here among esteemed colleagues. And thank you for taking the time being with us. It's a little bit early for me, but it's an honor to be here. It's a pleasure always be part of ABU and the esteemed colleagues at Asia Pacific Broadcast Union. We have been a veteran. We admire their work in educating the market, in explaining the technical side of the challenges that we are all going through as the institution has taken that responsibility. With that in mind, we are starting with a series of overview that we want to make it fun, actually. So the general idea is looking at the little format that our esteemed colleague, Mr. Shri, explained. So what we'll do is we'll go into a little presentation first, talk about what we call a little looking at the past, looking at the present, and heading out to the future, and how we can see some of these transformations are going to help us in the media publishing, in the broadcasting, in the area that everybody wants to capture the eyeball, but things that they're shifting is part of this evolution and changes. So with that in mind, we're going to start with our presentation. So let's take a look at that. The presentation that I'd like to share with you takes us about 33 years ago. In those days, I was actually working in collaboration with the areas of what we call direct TV, DTH, the satellite signals, working on the compression algorithms with universities such as University of Nevada in Las Vegas, UCLA, USC, and many other mathematicians, because we were just trying to change the world from analog to digital. That was one of the areas that we were working. Along with that, 33 years ago, I was working with the digital set-top boxes in Germany, working with areas that we were introducing the first wireless kind of technologies through set-top box. And this kind of things were really way ahead of its game, so to speak. So what happens is, first thing before we start, I like to share a tribute to Daniel Levin. Daniel, we lost him in September 9/11, but he was one of the visionaries, along with some of the esteemed colleagues. They started founding a company that you know now is called Akamai Technologies. And the derivative was coming from MIT. So we felt that we have to appreciate that our story started with something we call CDN, because a lot of us as a veteran started from that kind of a background where everybody were questioning, what is a CDN? Where are we coming from? You know, so we had to go through that market education. Today, as a producer, as a broadcaster, we don't even talk about the CDN. We are just choosing the best one that we feel that is suitable for our needs. So I felt it's important to appreciate some of our founders, that they take us to this journey. CDN through generation has transformed itself, as you probably know and you have witnessed. We have seen SaaS models. We have seen IaaS models, infrastructure. We have seen platform as a service. And we have seen for advertisers and payments as BPaaS. So these essential areas that we are talking about, CDN, and we are not going to talk about its infrastructure, just a highlight of it, has impacted many areas that you have shared with us in here. And some of these accreditations have been provided in here as a source. So we respect their copyrights and their information that they have supplied for us. But more importantly, we had to build many variables: the application, the data, the runtime, the middleware, working with different operating system, virtualization, keeping the servers, the storage, the networking together. Every one of these, as you all know, there are science by themselves. So when content delivery network came together, then it created different derivatives, as we all know. But in the general concept, for those of us that we understand, we always have origin servers, then we connect those into the edge servers, and through the edge servers, we push content. And that has become what we call CDN. Credit to F5, one of the global distribution network. In here, we have obviously the area that we are talking, where there are regional edge, and there are customer edge, and there are private clouds, and there are hyperscale clouds. And as you all know, that we bring content from a variety of different formats that we ultimately push that into our Avid system, into our production, from our studio, and so forth. As most probably we all know, just remembering some of the areas, is securing multi-cloud and edge app delivery, global availability, and centralization of some of these plane that we have, with the reducing the operational and the company expenses, but optimizing the speed, bringing easy to configure and building rights management policies, supporting the modern content, and allowing cloud agnostic services to be implemented into that kind of a format. I also want to take a moment in here because in 2010, a new technology got introduced called WebRTC. For a code name, we call it real-time communication, RTC. And a colleague that had lived in that area in Singapore and Malaysia, Dr. Alex, we lost him in during the COVID, unfortunately. But he was one of the contributors and a colleague that we appreciate his contribution to the real-time communication, working with the IEEEs, working with W3Cs, and working with various institutions to contribute to the real-time communication technologies and the WebRTC. Today, as we are speaking, WebRTC is a part of our standards and technologies, but there are many challenges that we are still facing because we are going through these transitional and transformational changes. For instance, when you try to add interactive content to the video, still it presents many challenges. We have issues with different networks. As you probably know, different geo IPs with different network from 5G to 3G, if they're in mobile environment, Wi-Fi, broadband, fiber optics, all of these variable network protocols that now has been provided, including Starlink, has created this challenge of managing multi-network agnostic services, along with the fact that we all know that we are dealing in a world of a multi-cloud. So we use Amazon for certain services, we use Google for certain services, we use IBM, Microsoft, etc. on a hyperscale, or we use our data centers where we are bringing those cloud connected together, both on a private side and on the public side. And then we have content, obviously. The main objective of a platform is, and in iCDN, just like in a CDN, to be content agnostic and also be a CDN agnostic. One of the experiences that we felt is important, and we need to share that with our audience, is that iCDN originally, because we all came from the CDN background, was founded on that CDN model, if you will. So we all are familiar with this monetization, with this usage, with the way that we provide services. But more importantly, we realize that we have different players, different streamings, different formats, different protocols, and this is also changing continually. And therefore, we are going from the old ways of, let's say, VPA to VP9, or H.264 to 265, and to the newer levels. So all of these factors are becoming part of it. So we felt it is important, just like we are running any publishing business or content business, CMS, content management system, becomes part of that content integration. So with that in mind, we wanted to get into some of the areas where NETSTAIRS and Google, after years of working with different groups and people, we decided to work closely with Google. So we looked at KPI, because KPI was always a protocol where for the last, what I call 2 decades at least, working with brands, ad agencies, clients, and so forth, always there is an indicator that they want to make sure. But with the transformation of Web 3.0 and the digital economy and the introduction of real-time interactive and the transformation of all of this into a golden age of what we call AI now, KPI is changing. So KPI now stands for keeping people interested, keeping people involved, inspired, and informed. These are part of this process that we are going to create what we call customer journey. So with that customer journey, DMR as digital media room is defined to become one of the most powerful data clean rooms that we'll share with you along with the ICPT. Some of these areas comes from a foundation of a security. We'll talk about some of those earlier and later because we'll connect the dots together. But more importantly is there are areas where we call identity resolution. Are we bringing inside of our stream a bad actor, a party crasher, or somebody who's not our well-wishers or like-minded? So with that kind of a settings, we integrate these kind of things into identity resolutions. Example of that is, for instance, European Broadcasting Union, where they use zero auth, and without that, they will not be able to connect to their 500 million audience and population that they serve. So the other thing that we looked at it is an example of what we have done in the interactive world through the use of iCDN since COVID was challenges that we were dealing in the sports arena. So Eurosports and European Broadcasting Union since 2020, along with 6 vendors that they have been introduced, because always you end up working, as you all know, with multiple vendors, and every vendor brings different values. And then the objective is to combine all of those, integrate that, and delivering something like we are doing or we have done during the sports all the way to Tokyo, to Munich, and so forth, that right now EBU still continues to enjoy bringing the journalists in real time with the finalists and feeding it through their system and broadcasting it to their 94 TV networks. K-Room, as Patrick explained, it's a new generation of a product that will be introduced in that region. This K-Room is designed to provide a variety of formats. And we're going to go through some of those visual experiences, but just giving you an idea, the concept of room, when we started coining the term back in 2006, people were laughing at us because they didn't understand what that meant. But today's market, post-cookies, market education has changed. So therefore, there is a very good value of understanding how things coming together. But the subsequent event of that caused all of these events started back in 2021 with our dear friend Apple computers and their iOS and support of their iPads, iPhone, and so forth, that they decided that they will no longer support cookies, especially second cookies, third-party cookies, fourth-party, and so forth, because they felt that that intrudes their privacy, security, and advertising. That ended up becoming the mantra for 2023 now. Most browsers, including Google, they control 67% of the market with browser. Edge, Firefox, or Mozilla, or Opera, and so forth, they all decided that just like the old days of Adobe Flash plugin, they're going to discontinue supporting the second party and third party cookies. So cookies becomes localized only for the suppliers that they're going to be using to do activities based on those sessions. So with that kind of a settings, we really have to look at it, that what happens. And that was one of the reasons that Patrick explained that their SEO, their optimization, their revenue recognition, all of these variables started dropping. And that created the need that we have to move into the digital transformation. So we have to look at this as a market opportunity. And that is one of the reasons that we just say that this is an era that we are going to have to say farewell to cookies and start looking at interactive as a gateway where watch parties, interactive sessions, events, and all of these things can come together for media casters and the publishers. This was the example of what we were just talking about with Mr. Patrick, K-Media, DCR journey that he shared earlier with us. And I want to thank him for his elaborate and sterling explanation. But the result of that became what we created for him as an organization, made investment participation, helping the organization to grow and create long-term partnership and relationship through K-Room. And the K-Room connected to two services, premium accounts, where the users can not only use the services of the publisher, but also they can subscribe and create their own venue. Like, again, Mr. Ting explained how we can have our video conferencing, video broadcasting services that we are doing, along with the standard that the typical readers now can have the opportunity of, in a private room, to read and learn, meet, and share some of their thoughts with their colleagues and so forth. Let's move on to some of the participation that we had done during the last couple of years, again, because these are some really good use cases. For instance, one of the areas during the COVID, we were working with a lot of editors in Los Angeles because the Hollywood producers could not go to the studio. The editors couldn't go there. So there was a lot of disparity of communication about cutting, editing, doing all of the various things. So we sponsored the feature and programs where we brought all of these Hollywood editors together as Editors Lounge, and we started sharing some of this concern. And then ultimately we were able to provide them with the rooms and settings that they could come in, they could share their editors, they could talk to the producers remotely, to the people that they were making that decisions, the producers, etc. And then ultimately the production started as we had migrated from that. The other area that it's extremely important for monetization is advertising, because majority of the publishers, broadcasters rely on that revenue. We have seen example of that, companies that they have presented themselves like Netflix, we don't put advertising, or even HBO, when they started, they said we don't put advertising. But everybody who started without advertising ultimately ends up with an advertising. But advertising is a subject of its own that we can definitely talk about. But for now, we are just going to highlight some of those, that this is a typical example room that we did, for instance, for an ad agency in Mexico, for Nestle, that they were competing against Starbucks. And the general idea was that if you buy that coffee machine, you receive a digital media room and you invite your friends, and then purchasing and transactions and everything else that you want to take place can come together in a formation based on the advertiser, brand, sponsor, and the company that is underwriting that kind of protocol. This is another example that we did for one of our clients, Jin in Japan, that they showcased New York Fashion Week and streaming those, bringing the guests into a watch party. So therefore, as they could not arrive, obviously everybody in New York, they could have that kind of an experience in real time and be able to share that inside of a DCR, a data clean room. So the way we are seeing, according to Gartner, data is going to become the what we call the next gold in digital economy. Data is moving away from the third parties in the hands of companies that they control the data. So the TV stations, the broadcasters, the promotions, the printers, the publishers, everybody else that we are talking about, their first mission is moving into a protocol that their data fabric can basically help them to increase their revenue, their production. And these are some of the data that we are sharing with you that they can help you to quadruple your efficiency in your data, cutting your human data-driven management task in half, allowing you to prepare, establish, engage, and provide you with the know-how. So rather than trying to do trial and error, now you're working with the guys that they have been doing this for years. So as a subsequent event, we always talk about deployment strategies, right? How do we get started? How do we go forward? And one of the areas that we always try to do is looking at some of these use cases, like for instance, right now with Euronews. Euronews has spent tremendous amount of money, resources, and so forth to create the Watch Euronews TV Live. So all the content that you see in this room is targeted more to our Gen Z digital media room that they can create watch parties, especially like during the holiday season that is coming shortly in the next few months. We all want to be that feeling of being together. So from that experience that we are seeing from the streaming of the CDN to iCDN, interactive content delivery, the feeling of wanting, especially post-COVID, with what we call hybrid work or hybrid entertainment, has become the catalyst of taking the next transitional stage into the equation. So in short, one of the areas that we always look at it as a highlighter, publishers, broadcasters, TV networks, colleagues that we are working in different industries, they all are now looking into those three pins, post cookies, with identity resolution, that they make their own policies. These are from what you call CAPTCHA, from two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentications, biometric, facial recognitions, iris, many other variables that is available that also we can share some of that with you. But ultimately, most companies that we are referring to, we believe that they should keep their own data platform and then connect that data platform with the licensing called first-party data to the second-party data and third-party data. I'll give you another example on the first-party data. For instance, if you wanted to advertise into Disney's network, Disney adopted first-party data. So if you are a TV network and you wish to advertise with Disney, Disney becomes your second party. So you become the first party, and the second party connects together through licensing, and now you create distribution, tracking, rights management without violation. So this becomes extremely important in your planning, in your strategies, that you're looking at migration from the cookies and your online presence into a robust platform that you control, you manage, and you establish your requirement without really being confined with one supplier, so to speak. So in short, one of the areas that we wanted to share with you as NETSTAIRS is we have to look at things, and also there are collateral materials available at IAB, Interactive Advertising Bureau from Washington. But more importantly, the team, the colleagues that we are referring and working with, they are really looking at the subject of post cookies, identity resolution, client data platform called CDP, first party data, and then all of those becomes prequel to the data clean room. And once you have a data clean room, now you can integrate and bring your content, your device integrations for smart TV, for what we call IOTT versus OTT, building a SaaS integration because you have other services that you subscribe and integrate that, such as your e-commerce, for instance. So these kind of things can become very powerful for making product, services, decisions. And then there is another challenge that we had faced, because not everybody does one streaming. We all now resort to multi-streaming, multi-cameras, multi-points, multi-formats, multi-suppliers. So when we look at those kind of areas, we have to be able to have a DCR, a data clean room, that it can support those multi-streamings. And more importantly, like we are doing right now in this streaming, a real-time video becomes extremely important under the RT standards and privacy and a security policy. So with that in mind, we are going to move into a little bit of a presentation of some of our other screens that we can share with you. And then we are going to stop later on and then take a little break. And then we're going to talk about the subject of artificial intelligence and an introduction of something that we are bringing from laboratory. And thanks to our esteemed colleague, Dr. Francis Teo, who has been working with us and creating that kind of integration that we can maintain the sacred aspect of use of AI without violation of bad actors to put it into bad use, but putting it inside an environment that we call DCR, data clean room, that it can help us to serve our audience and our customers, our viewers, and so forth. So we'll take a look at some of that right now. So with that in mind, I am going to share with you some of our overall protocols so you can see where we are coming from. In real time, one of the areas that we felt is important is being able to bring certain elements together, because we are creatures of communications. Real-time communication has become the essence of how we collaborate from one part of the world to another part. So with that paradigm shift, CDNs were handicapped. That was part of the problem, because CDNs, as you know, they're designed to push, they deliver, but they are not interactively designed to receive. So we had the challenge of how do we receive uplink versus downlink, right? We are pushing the content. So we started building the collaboration, broadcasting services, sharing the content and AI into that kind of a setting. So the area that we felt is important is looking at iCDN as a way, and then transforming that room into different use cases. And there are different areas. So we decided that we have to look at series of subjects in the CDN market, because these are all becoming part of that equation. For instance, we are dealing with standard streaming, we're dealing with low latency, with ultra low latency, with workflows, embeddables, widgets, HTML5, virtual reality, 3D, metaverses, and holograms, and all of these variables that became part of our challenges inside iCDN. And how do you bring all of this together? Now, obviously, most companies that they feel that they have the resources and so forth, they go first attempt and they go at it. But there were a series of challenges for us as engineers. One of them, coming from data and privacy and security, was that most companies that we looked at, just their video conferencing services, such as Zoom, such as Team, such as WebEx, GoToMeeting, all of these names that you have been familiar with, what they do is they download and they put either an app in your machine or they put a software inside your device. And then they all try to take over different devices, right? Your webcams, your microphones, and etc. We felt this is a violation. And also as an IT guy, we always get frustrated because we have to go, and our IT guys, they don't want us just to download applications because of our firewalls and securities. So we always have this constant battle that a lot of people just don't do it, or people that they don't know how to change settings and so forth. They get frustrated, and we have seen that time after time in many support sessions. So our decision was, what if we create a platform that requires no install, no download, and no app? That was the foundation of what we wanted to design for this. And then we could send, just sharing a link that they could support iOS, Android, Windows, and different browsers. So we became browser agnostic. But with that, it took us about 42 months of innovation work, because we looked at and burned a lot of machines. We worked with Azure, we worked with IBM, with Microsoft in different areas, with Google, with Amazon, just some of the hyperscale service providers. But as our engineering team, including yours truly, decided, we felt Google is going to be the most suitable service provider, that we wanted to capitalize on AI and machine learning and be able to use GCP and GSP. And because Google also had a massive investment in WebRTC as the owner of the platform, as a nonprofit organization, then Chrome and collaboration and so forth of this decided that we are going to bring a group of people from Google, such as their Chrome browsers team, GCP team, and WebRTC, and we brought them together and helped them out to overcome some of the challenges that we were facing. And ultimately, that opportunity lent itself for us to build a highly scalable platform, and also that know-how can be used in the industry within their market. So today, post-COVID, that we are moving forward, we have built platforms modeling ourselves in a visual format without really getting to the technical side of it. in a palm tree like from Dubai. The general idea was that we were able to create a main conduit to an island. And if you look at every one of those islands as a branch, keeping the integrity of every client's data separate and creating use cases and marketing needs and identification of their KPI independent of the other. And then around it, that circle that you see, build it with a security socket layer and 5 other layers of securities that we can optionally offer that, and include capabilities such as artificial intelligence and so forth for our publishers and media casters and TV networks, that they can do a variety of services that you see highlighted into different icon for education, for broadcasting, for collaboration, for social, or just streaming. So we selected Google because we felt that among many companies that we work with, and we also connected many other services together through this kind of a CDN. So your CDN actually now just can get connected to a letter I, and that I can provide you with the services that we are talking. So one of the areas that I always try to share is why we picked up Google, for example. We all know, for instance, Google has successfully delivers billions of videos just through their YouTube, right? So we felt their network and their fiber optics are the most suitable way for us to provide the continuity of what we are doing. So rather than relying on series of services, we capitalized on the use of GCP infrastructure, and those point of entries that you see is where we create the presence. For instance, for K-Room, we are capitalizing on the cost of a transportation and its reduction through availability via Singapore versus Mumbai, for instance, if you're working with a client, or in the United States where our servers is on East Coast and West Coast, and we connect everything to Sao Paulo and to other parts of Europe as we provide the service. There is another fundamental reason for it, is what we call data security and privacy and the laws. For instance, in Europe, as you all know, GDPR is part of the requirements. So we have to house the servers in those regions under the European compliance. Otherwise, as broadcasters, we get penalized. Same thing in Malaysia or Singapore, because if we respect the laws and the requirements, then we subsequently can follow the guidelines that they set. So as we have gone through this kind of an experiences right now and went through what we call SDN networking, I won't bore you with this, but it's important to note that fundamentally we had to spend a lot of time on infrastructure because there were many layers of cloud that we had to integrate. And one of the main reasons was we didn't want our service providers just to depend on, let's say, Amazon, okay? And if they wanted to switch to, let's say, Akamai or to Cloudflare or other CDNs, they could easily do that without really sitting down and writing codes, interfaces, testing, coming to the marketplace. So all of those things have been done. The other thing is that we always wanted to look at it from the standpoint of the traditional virtual private cloud, because we build the VPC based on that region. And when we build that, then we automatically take it into a consideration. So we looked at the way that other data centers have used the traditional VPC versus the way that Google has used the VPC. And one of the areas for us, because of real-time communication, is the latency, right? Because we don't want all of a sudden the video comes in, then the audio comes 2 seconds or vice versa, and they're not synced. So all of these becomes mission critical for all of us. So we looked at those requirements and we saw, wow, if we try to have machines to build machines, and if we go into traditional VPC, then this gateway and the latency really impacts our performance. So that was one of the reasons that we started working with Google and migrating ourselves into a platform where the machines internally can talk to each other at the fastest possible way to communicate, to bridge themselves, to establish collaboration, communications, and allow us to handshake between the machines internally when we are bringing things like JWT, JSON, and so forth. The other thing that we felt is important is that projects can be managed based upon different ways, because you have the database. Everybody controls their customer base. Everybody would like to keep their customer base apart from everybody else, because tomorrow your first party data is your gold rule. You're the one who's selling it, subscribing it, offering it as an advertising model. So the data integrity should be separated from the CDN and from iCDN the same way we are doing it. But one of the areas that we had to work again with the Google team was replication of the machines. Machines were kind of slow when we were getting into a critical mass to replicate yourself. And our objective was that we could build a highly scalable iCDN that, like an accordion, we can expand it. And then when we don't need it, it reduces itself. So it implodes and explodes concurrently based on volume. So we just don't burn machines and keep the cost low. So with that kind of a setting, again, we moved into integration and creating the capability that we could manage every client through virtual private cloud, through those branches that I shared with you earlier, and then building this kind of a distribution network that you can see. So our cloud right now as iCDN has the scalability, the resiliency, and it's optimized, and we are serving the market that now is known as DCR. There was another thing that we had to build called intelligent load balancing. And the AI load balancing became extremely important because we have SSL proxies, we have TCP proxies, we have HTTPS, we have many other variables that it comes to our agenda for integration, authentication, verifications, and so forth, like we talked about on identity resolution. So we moved into most of software-defined networking, balancing, and so forth, so we can manage those based on the size of the client and the requirement of the client without impacting any of our other clients. So this was one of our challenges that we had to face. And then subsequently, we could support both IPv4 and IPv6. So therefore, as we are transitioning, because that was part of the challenges also we had, some of the encodings were supporting the IPv4, some of them IPv6, and then they were transforming or crossing over, and we wanted to make sure that continuity goes through. More importantly, we don't do anything HTTP. Just I want to make sure that everybody is clear. Everything that we do is through HTTPS. So security is paramount to us. And then with that kind of a thing, we saw that the traffic improved by obviously 1.3 million requests per second, for example, like the Pokemon that you saw as a use case that they used in Europe and in Asia. And this data helped us to make that determination for building the iCDN. I won't go into more of that technical detail because there are other subjects to cover. So one of the areas that we felt it's important is looking at the market trend. Right now, according to MIT, majority of the companies, 70% of them, are moving into adoption of new technologies, post-cookies. So we highly encourage you that if you wait for the last minute, unfortunately, it's going to catch up with you. But if you plan ahead and you try to be proactive and take measures and plan ahead, then you can catch the ride and monetize it. And that is one of the things that I want to thank Patrick and their publishers, because after 70 years of building their trust and putting their reputation, we are working with them to continue with the same integrity and bring them into that digital economy. So it is important that we can understand the needs, the requirement, your objectives, your vision, your mission, your goals and objectives that can be determined into this protocol that we call post-cookies. So therefore, you can decide as an organization what your identity resolution would be, what your first-party policies are going to be, and how you're going to connect this value chain into the data clean room. So now that we have a little bit of an idea that there are three ingredients post-cookies: AI and identity resolution, first-party data, and then you get to the data clean room. So we are not going to spend so much time on those first two topics because every one of those have their own science and requirements. So our focus is going to be mostly today on data clean room, that it runs through iCDN. And part two is going to be integration of AI into the data clean room, that it can give you a cutting edge advantages that you would be able to enjoy and offer it. So in short, DMR is really called Digital Media Room for us, became the most powerful DCR. And why? Because inside the DCR, we have already pre-built all the CDN players, all the formats, all the requirements, all the integrations, the HTML5, the widget, the embeddables. So nobody has to sit down and waste time and value. And that is one of the reasons that we are sharing that with you. So what we're going to do now, we also want to point out another highlight, which is important, is monetization. Real-time advertising, we don't want it to become a cost center. We want it to become a profit center. So back in 2013, when I was looking at the CPM, the CPC, the advertising world, and as we have witnessed, just like Facebook, Google, and so forth, publishers have lost and broadcasters have lost their trust because of that factor. And the KPI were not an outcome that they felt it was important. So we filed a provisional patent. We looked at interactive cost per time as a business model, and using the K-Room to turn in the customer into a brand ambassador is going to become one of the gateways that we are going to start launching social media. Normally the buyers and building a KPI for us is relatively easy. So the way that we did this is because everybody who advertises ultimately wants to get a return. So their return is what? Sales and turnover on their inventory, their product, and their services that they provide. So we felt the DCR is ideal to deliver three variables: time, like we are spending together, the eyeball of those people that they are participating in that, and the content. So those three gives us a variable that we can provide to a brand as what we call guaranteed time, guaranteed eyeball, and guaranteed content that they share. So moving to the key performance, like I showed you earlier about an example that we shared earlier here, or examples of some of the other things that we have done for promotions in different brands and so forth, was the general idea of bringing the brands right directly to the eyeballs. Okay. And this is a game changer. And that is one of the reasons that we felt D2C, direct to consumer, as a broadcast venue for the watch parties is going to create a new paradox of revenue stream, opportunities, shopping, commerce, call to action, and more importantly, sponsoring, featuring products and brands that it can create different layers of content. You know, the broadcast content versus user-generated content, if you want to get into that market, or aggregation of a content or distribution partnership. All of these variables became part of this synergy that we built inside of the rooms, so to speak. And the general idea for that connectivity and so forth is bringing the brands and the buyers eye to eye at the time that they feel is important, especially post-COVID. So with that, again, I want to highlight some of the samples of the rooms for you so you can see how the rooms operate actually. Let's look at some of these rooms. We're going to leave some of the good stuff for you later on, but we're going to showcase some of the examples so you can see that in visual format. One of them is what we call data clean room. So how does a data clean room looks like first? For instance, when you come to a room like this that you see me here, this is a data clean room, and it practically has nothing, okay? So it's just empty, and it's ready to be served. And then there are areas that you can program and set up. For example, you can create call to action buttons in the top in here. You can privatize it, put your own logo, change the colors. You can set up in here through integrations with the file transfer, with the chat, with the services, with the settings, or you can connect it to your social medias by just creating or sharing the information or changing your positions of the cameras. As you can see, for example, I can put them in different area based upon my peer preference, and brands can sit in here. But this data clean room now becomes blank. There is nothing in it. And what we do is now we go into a scenario where we can show you how content can come to a formation. One of them that we like to share with you, because it's the most recent one we received from our strategic partners, again, EBU versus ABU, is one of the rooms called EBU that allows you to get confirmation, obviously, with the cookies and so forth. And when you agree on the term, then the streaming begins. And now we have a watch party in here. Again, I mute myself, so therefore we have our avatar, but the content can be broadcasted from here. I can go and choose different countries. I can choose different settings. Everything else that you are doing right now can be integrated inside the secure compliance room. It can be set up if you need a call to action, surveys, or you want to fill out a poll, or any of these other factors. They can be all implemented in here. And here is your buttons for your monetizations that you can add sidebar. For example, if you come here and click on this item, for instance, then we can bring the instructions or the message. If you want to enhance it, then we can bring it into a larger one. And if we want to change it, all we have to do is just click on the items that we wish to select. And then by selection of those items, we can bring in the different content that we desire. And we can build integrations, we can build galleries, we can build protocols. All of these things becomes part of the experience that we are referring to. So EBU, for instance, in this example, becomes a newsroom for the broadcasters that now they can offer watch party. And then this watch party can become 2 connections, 3 connections, 4 connections, or any of these other areas. Another example that is worth mentioning is Fox, for example, 1751. So we can show you some of that. And here, we are using what we call SFU technology, selected forward unit, where
It began after the Super Bowl.
This is The Masked Singer, Season 3.
18 masked celebrities set off in pursuit of the Golden Mask Trophy. Over 18 weeks, they wowed us.
I feel like we're in the presence of an icon.
They've kept us guessing.
I'm gonna go with Shaun White.
Tommy Lee.
Lil Romeo.
Flavor Flav!
Who do you think it is?
Christina Aguilera.
No.
I know exactly who this is.
They've lifted our spirits,
Beyond amazing.
and they've shocked us with their identities.
Lil Wayne! Shaka Khan! Governor Sarah Palin! Brett Michael!
So a little fun stuff like that, but more importantly, going into markets like esports TV, for example. So we share with you a room that we have built and show you as an example of how esports TV is penetrating the market, helping out to create watch parties, selling their products and services through here, and then being able to serve their market. So again, just from a presentation point of view, I'm gonna click on myself here and mute, so this way we don't get redundancy. But here is where we now can basically look at building a page. This is running in one of our players. It's an AI player in our streaming services. But more importantly, that as we are coming here and then doing this kind of activities, we have areas where, for instance, you can see the list of the sponsors, the features, and so forth, the companies they represent. And then if you're into esports and production of these kind of things, then we obviously can help you or show you or partner with you or allow you to build an infrastructure that is suitable for your needs. So this is again just sharing some of that thoughts. And then again, if they want to go to the shopping to shop or obtain a room or watch additional content or register into flash news or watch their previously uploaded YouTubes, all of these kind of things becomes available immediately. If you're using, let's say, multi-suppliers like Vimeo, YouTube, Cloudflare, JW Player, all of
The expert in online video communication technologies, NETSTAIRS.
So again, just giving you some highlights of how things can work for you and integrate the services from the media side. Then there are people that they want to do gaming, for example. Gamers are obviously, it's extremely important. And one of the areas that we are working with is, again, producers, providers, partners. But more importantly, one of the things that we have done is we support a series of what we call metaverse or engines, such as Twinmotion, Unity, WebGL, and NVIDIA's, these kind of things. We can definitely bring that into the equation. As you can see in here, the other thing that is happening into the marketplace, as you probably know, in the broadcast market, including Disney, who has made the announcement that the linear TV is dead, is going to fade away. Linear TV like ABC right now is on sale in United States. Other networks, they're looking at their linear channels and they are either reinventing themselves or they're moving into OTT or a market of streaming or new opportunities. So these transitional strategies really needs a hand holding rather than getting lost and trying to do trial and error. So here is where you can see, for instance, this company, they are building convergence content brand, working with different suppliers, but we don't want to limit their creativity. So this is where we bring through rights management and everything else, the integration. So you have the sanctity of your data, you control everything, but at the same time, you can bring it back inside of a DCR within the iCDN while you're holding your CDN content in your own location. These are extremely valuable and important to keep in mind. So again, just going to some of the other examples that I'd like to show you is another 1828, if I think, is Loop TV. For example, Loop TV is, in this particular case, they want to connect it to Zoom versus, for instance, our servers. So we have built this kind of a DCR that it becomes service agnostic. So if you decide that you want to connect your services to your Zoom, you can do that. If you want to connect it to areas where we can, for instance, provide you with SFU or mesh technology. And these are all subjects that we obviously help you to understand. But more importantly, the general idea is that the subscribers, the users who are experiencing this kind of work and reaching out and looking at that kind of a gateway, they can bring everything together without really spending a tremendous amount of time, R&D, trial and error, and going forward. So with that in mind, again, I just wanted to share some of this information with you. So to summarize our presentation in here, more importantly, I wanted to really bring you to this area of artificial intelligence, and then let us take a few minutes of a break. And then from there, we're going to start showing you how and why artificial intelligence and responsive videos are going to become a game changer in the media and the streaming market.
Okay, thanks a lot with the extensive presentation and with demonstration and things. So I think we'll take some questions and then we'll break. We'll have a short break. So I think Dr. Moradi, Mr. Vijay,
Yeah.
we have some questions.
Yes, we
Yeah,
have got 7
yeah.
questions.
Right.
There's a question from a gentleman by the name of Akram Muhammad.
Right.
How is the interactive content delivery network iCDN capable for the educational content? And Dr.
Good.
Moradi?
Great question. Actually, one of the area that we have spent a lot of time is in the education market, working with different universities, different states in United States for education, especially during COVID, where children could not go, for instance, to school. But one of the things we learned was, first of all, if we are working with the teachers, for instance, the best thing to do is teach the teachers to become producers, because they create content. And their content is basically like a curriculum, right? When we go to school, we meet with the same teacher, and then that teacher year after year teaches different generation. But rather than that teacher repeating that, creating a courseware and building that. And then in addition to that, one of the interactive courses that we have done for distance learning and education was Interactive Academy of Performing Arts in Orlando, for example, working with music, art, and education, working with universities in Spain, working with Católica University, Cornell University. Distance learning is extremely important in this real-time education. So through IOTT, if you will, you can converge the TV into a classroom. And then by connecting a device like a webcam, then that TV becomes real-time. And we obviously can help you with that kind of strategies. But more importantly, education is paramount, because we feel part of the learning and transformation of digital economy starts by taking and partaking and showing and demonstrating the educational aspect of its use of DCR and its application by the casters. I hope I answered your question, Akram.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Moradi. Now, there's another question from the same gentleman. How is iCDN different from the Kaltura, a cloud-based video platform, to add interactivity to a video with the Kaltura Player Studio?
Right. First of all, when you talk about a specific brand, then that means you have to marry that brand, right? For example, we looked at Kaltura. First, it was open source, right? And Kaltura is a platform just like many other platforms. But tomorrow you may not like Kaltura. You may move to some other technologies, right? So DCR is designed to support all of that, not really exclude them or compete. So the way we have created this positioning is, if you have Kaltura content, you still can bring it in. If you're bringing it from another CDN, you still can bring it in. So we are not limiting you. We are just giving you the ability to add experiences that otherwise would not have been realized through a simple URL share. And as you probably know, Kaltura started many years ago with the open source mindset and the streaming to differentiate themselves from the others. But obviously, companies, organizations, they all have different rights, preferences, different vendors, and Kaltura is supposed to, or happens to be, amongst one of the companies. Like, for example, if you move to BitMovin as a media streaming and you drop Kaltura, then you don't want to be limited. That's the general idea, that the DCR can help you out with that transition and keep you with the brand that you're serving, and at the same time add in without really compromising your own services. Back to you.
So would it be right to say that iCDN supports multi-CDN? Would that be a correct analogy?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so we are not limited to any CDNs. Now,
if we don't have it, we add it. If we
Right.
have it, then we have it in the library. Yeah.
Right. Now, there's another question by an anonymous person. What analytical tools are available within the clean room environment?
Great question. There are several areas that we looked at it from data. One of them was that everything we do in the DCR, we date it, time it, stamp it, log it, and give you a usage report. That is for what we call like a general ledger of your accounting, right? Who, when, where, how long did they spend, all of this information. More importantly, we connect that services as a private cloud to the preferences of the client in case of, let's say, K-Media with Google Analytics. And then in case of third parties, we provide a platform, third-party platform as a service like Clicky, that it can give you the ability, without us influencing the numbers, that you can get the numbers through a third-party valuation and the data. So this way, the authenticity of and the audit and the sacred aspect of the data is always retained. And then you can match those, and then ultimately through the analytics that is provided. More importantly, then through what you will see and you will experience during the AI session, you can take that data and connect it to the AI and business intelligence and start creating predictive models and based, just like you do with the weather, right? That you look at a hurricane, like we are dealing with the hurricane season now in this part of the region. Then we are looking at the charts, right? How the clouds are coming. With the data, you can do the same kind of a thing and predict the way that the business is driving itself. So therefore, you can become market driven. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Moradi. Now, there's another question by the same anonymous person. Are there any limitations on the volume or granularity of data that can be processed within the clean room?
Everything has limitations. Normally, what we try to do is identify the needs and the requirements and the size of the project, as you probably know. For instance, if you're doing a Munich event, right, with millions of users, is totally different than just trying a conducive event like we are doing right now. So we have to look at that just the same way that you do from a production point of view. But more importantly, we have been able to work, collaborate, like with Sony in 2021. We did the world's first interactive concert in Spain. And it led into selling tickets, interactive tickets, and selling tickets for the holiday season through the ticket supplier in Europe. And then we provided that kind of a service. So identifying the needs is paramount to our requirements. And once you learn that and apply that to your usages, then I don't think you will have any problem, because our system, the way we have designed it, is to adopt and become flexible for the usage of that. Back to you.
Well, there's another question by the same person again, but I think you've answered this one. But for all it takes, are there built-in audio trails or logs to track data access and processing activities?
The data track, access, and so forth are a function of privacy and security. Those are coming through your first-party data. That's one of the reasons that now you have to look at your first-party data separate than the DCR, and then connect these two together, because your data has to keep itself into what is called client data platform. Think of it like a bowl, right? And think of it like a noodle that you're putting inside of it, right, with the content, and then these two becomes a combination. So the best suggestion and recommendation I make is really looking at your standards, corporate policies, data, and then building those kind of infrastructure within the data that it can support it, and then license it through first party that it can connect to different services. Example of best way I can give you is working with the financial institutions such as banks. Banks do not want to meet with a bad actor. They want to have a genuine individual to come into a virtual room to conduct a banking transaction with the teller, right? So we don't want all of a sudden Moradi imposter shows up and do the transaction while Moradi is real person. So this kind of issues becomes data protection, identity resolution. That's why before those comes as a prerequisite to the data clean room, that it gives you the ability. So I would suggest that based on the area that you're referring to, we should go into policies and procedures that the organization as a whole signs up with their first party data, and then allowing that maybe through JWT or JSON or other methodologies for integration. Back to you.
Okay. Anonymous has got another question. Now, his final question. How does the clean room ensure compliance with regulations like GDPR in Europe, CCPA in the United States, in California, or other regional data protection laws like in Malaysia, PDPA?
Great question. One of the area is hosting the content in the right location, as you know, and the place of the business. When you're talking about GDPR or CCCPA and so forth, those first-party data, again, comes within the policy of the first party data, not the DCR. So you have to look at it as a prelude to the sequel, right? And in order to accomplish that kind of structure is, again, look at the data and look at the requirements that it needs and how you encrypt it. Generally speaking, if you're asking us as a DCR, how do we do this? We go into different layers of security based on what we call the client's needs. I give an analogy of a use case to my colleagues. I said, if you want a limo versus a bulletproof limo, there are two different budgets and requirements. In a limo, obviously, you're getting all the amenities and everything else. In a bulletproof, you're having a series of security services and additional hardware and everything else added, right? The way we have done it is we build up to 5 layers of what we call onion layer securities. And this security layers gives you what we call fortress, that if there is a breach for the first layer, then you'll get notifications. So you can take preventive measure. Example of that just happened to us a few days ago. We were attacked by the Russians. In fact, 1/3 of our traffic actually comes from bad actors from China, from Ukraine, and from Russia. And we are constantly in the process of always finding. So as you know, CDNs themselves, they face the same kind of challenges. So with the encryption that we do is a series of things. Example, the session that we build in here for the rooms have many variables. These variables are both PGPs, public codes, private codes, encryption codes, script, session IDs, many other variables that it creates that. So if somebody wants to take a watch party, obviously with permission or without permission, rights management, open house, closed, VIP, etc., then you can send that link to the related party. And if you grant them the right, they can come in. But if you don't grant them the right, they're just not going to be allowed to come in. So therefore, security comes from the foundation of what we call state of mind, the way that the company or the firm or the broadcaster takes measure against their own data, allowing that data to connect to different services becomes paramount in these new strategies, and then bringing them in here where we bring all of that security. And we can definitely talk about that as a whole subject by itself. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moradi. Now, before we go to our second session, I think the first session took a bit long. I have got a question for you. Now, what happens as a broadcaster or as a content owner when I want to broadcast my content in iCDN? Now, do I have to move my content from iCDN here to the iCDN?
No. On the contrary, all you do is, for example, if you have an M3U8 as a format of a streaming, you share that with us, and then we place that into our players. We test it. There are several variables that you probably know as a broadcaster. You're either using a standard player, or you have your own player, or you have a third-party player that you're licensing. So those 3 ingredients becomes part of the user experience at the client side, like we are doing. So if that is the variables, then with the testing, we basically give you the feedback, and then you deploy that based on your setting and requirements. So to answer your question, when you're moving the content, you're not really moving the content. You're just sharing the content. You're passing through the technologies, just like what we are doing right now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moradi, for your time. Now we are taking a 5-minute break before we start our second session. I think it will be shorter second session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us again. We are here now to continue our second session, Artificial Intelligence Responsive Video. Can I have the video, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Francis Teo. In the age of digital transformation, the emergence of artificial intelligence, AI, and advanced AI models like ChatGPT have ushered in a new era of possibilities for content delivery networks. These innovations have given rise to what can be termed as iCDN, an era where AI technologies, interactivity, computing, financial power converge to shape the future of the content delivery. Let's welcome Gina, my assistant, to give us a thorough explanation of how the interactivity might work in iCDN.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the future CDN, presenting the iCDN Interactive Content Delivery Network's Data Clean Room. It's where data privacy and cutting-edge technology coalesce to create something extraordinary. The iCDN's Data Clean Room is not just a room, it's the gateway to a future where data fuels innovation and where your digital world responds to you. Interactive avatar newscasting is allow viewers to have some control over the news content. For example, viewers might choose which news stories they want to see, access additional background information, or decide the order in which segments are presented. This level of interactivity empowers viewers to tailor their news consumption to their interests and preferences. They can deep dive into the news content and ask for more questions, able to gather information and answer them directly from reliable news sources. Come and ask me more questions.
So Gina, you're telling me that you are a AI avatar, really? So, and you're telling us that there is this interactive newscasting, this new feature for iCDN. You can engage with the viewers effectively, respond to their questions in real time, and provide in-depth information on complex global events. How about you actually newscast on these recent floods? Can you explain the features and the process technology of this new interactive news delivery system?
Let's take a look at how it works on newscasting. We present the interactive newscasting using AI avatar. We interrupt to bring you an urgent report. In the past 11 days, we've witnessed a staggering occurrence, a catastrophic floods across 4 continents. You might wonder, how can we make sense of these unprecedented events? Greetings, world. I'm not a human being, and is your AI avatar, here to shed light on the underlying causes of these devastating floods. Scientists believe that climate change may be a key factor contributing to this wave of intense rainfall and flooding, but the relationship between climate change and these events isn't always straightforward. From the devastating floods in Libya, which have left thousands in despair, to severe rains inundating regions in Greece, Turkey, Brazil, Spain, China, Hong Kong, and the US. There you go. This is the use case for interactive newscasting. I can replace a real human being newscaster to give impromptu news report in a matter of minutes without preparation and news information from targeted newsfeed. All my news are sourced from targeted newsfeed, and readers can ask any questions and get reply from experts and news sources almost instantly. Ask me any questions.
So the new feature is known as interactive avatar newscasting. Why are there such flood in that short span of time?
Weather analysts and studies have said that such incidents have risen in recent decades, and climate change is one of the reasons behind it. The planet's water cycle is being increased by global warming, and warmer temperatures cause more evaporation. Hence, a warmer atmosphere may contain more moisture. The phenomenon means that storms can provide more intense precipitation, resulting in serious flooding. A report by the Environmental Protection Agency published last year mentioned that researchers have observed those changes over time as the world warms. The space agency said that global precipitation has increased at an average rate of 0.04 inches per decade since 1901.
So, Gina, what are the impacts of the recent floods in the world? And what are the expert forecasts for the future?
According to BBC News source, they estimate that by 2030, there will be an extra 25 countries experiencing increasing floods, in addition to the 30 to being impacted at present. We estimate that an additional new 179.2 million people will be exposed to floods by 2030 in 100-year zones, and most of that is due to demographic change, said Dr. Tellman. Around 50 million extra people will be exposed to inundation, we think, directly to climate change explicitly.
So, Gina, what are the other use cases of interactive content delivery network with artificial intelligence? How can you bring more value to our participants?
There is a new function that we are still experimenting on, which is known as interactive advertisement. It allows our advertiser to embed AI avatar at the end of each commercial video advertisement. Increase the call to action rate for consumer by having a AI avatar to interact with 24/7 in multiple language, remove doubt, remove obstacles, cater to the frequently asked questions immediately.
This is impressive. Show us.
From the makers of the world's most refined lasers comes the ultimate in handheld flashlights. The Flash Torch is a compact, portable searchlight that is capable of producing an incredible 4,100 lumens of intense white light. Use this power to guide your way home, light a fire, or even fry an egg. Buy one at $249 divided by at its website now.
How far can the flash torch shine?
The effective range of the flash torch beam is approximately 100 yards out. The flash torch was built for power, which enables it to light things on fire and to produce an incredible 4,100 lumens of intense bright light. It was not designed to illuminate objects over a far distance, as it is more of a floodlight.
Why is the flash torch expensive?
Aside from using high-quality materials, the custom battery pack is expensive to manufacture as it uses branded Sony, LG, Panasonic, Samsung Li-ion cells.
So your interactive advertisement is just an overlay over an existing commercial advertisement video, and it enhances viewer engagement. Interactive advertisements are designed to captivate and engage viewers beyond passive consumption. With features like quizzes, surveys, and games, viewers become active participants rather than passive observers. Immediate action. Interactive advertisements prompt viewers to take immediate action, capitalizing on their heightened interest right after the ad. This can lead to higher conversion rates and engagement with the advertised product or service. Real-time interaction. Interactive ads enable real-time interactions with viewers. This means that any questions or concerns can be addressed instantly, fostering trust and satisfaction among potential customers. Personalization. These ads can be customized based on viewer preferences and behaviors, making the content more relevant and appealing to individual audiences. Personalization enhances the likelihood of positive response. This is something that is really amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are interested to find out more about these new features, how it can be incorporated into your media, use this QR code to drop us a note.
Very interesting, artificial intelligence responsive video. Dr. Francis Teo, can we have you online?
Hi.
Dr. Francis, thank you very much. What an exhilarating experience. Now, can you let us know a few words? How has your experience been?
Well, I mean, it's excellent, impressive, and in the sense that the ability to actually to incorporate and integrate with the data clean room, it will actually help a lot of these broadcaster to increase their additional channel for monetization, increase the customer experience as well. Yeah, with especially to to enhance the customer experience and increase the interactivity. Yes.
Thank you. So, Dr. Francis, what was your comment? I believe that there is some reports that is out that generative AI is moving on to the next phase, to interactive AI. I would like to hear you say something about that.
Well, I think interactive AI is already here because we have already been developing this since 2 years ago. And it has come to the stage whereby we are enabling the avatar or so-called the human, the AI human, to be able to understand the intent, the understand the questions that the users is asking, and then they are able to reply you intelligently. So with that, right, it will be able to enhance the experience of our so-called advertisers, especially since the commercial advertisement is only commercial advertisement, 30 seconds. That's the most. But the most important thing is always at the interaction with the advertisers, the FAQ that will allow the closing to happen. So we actually include this avatar to allow that to happen, and especially for it can be used for a lot of use cases. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can we have Dr. Moradi online, please? Thank you.
Hello.
Dr. Moradi, over to you. Because I
Hi,
believe
thank you for
that
having me
the
back.
artificial intelligence conversation would be more interesting with you here.
Sure. One of the areas, again, thank you, Dr. Francis, for sharing your insight and providing us with some of the input that you see. I have been in the studies of AI since 1986. I have been involved in building probably one of the earliest part of AI streaming back in 2002 with a global patent in 2007. AI is always very dear to us, but also as the safekeeper of the AI, we always try to use the AI for good AI, what we call, not for any wrong intent. So permission-based rights management, content, everything goes through DCR is paramount because this way we provide sanctity, an area that brands can feel safe and they can present their content and sponsorship. In this room that right now we have set up as an example for the demonstration, which you will see, is really designed to give you some highlights of sample rooms. This room is available online. You're more than welcome to go to iCDN video. You can select the menu called showroom. There is a room called 1913 that you can see. But here is what we are going to highlight some of the items. And then at your leisure, you can go take a look at some of those items. Example of that is Dr. Francis was instrumental. Again, credit goes to his institution working with us through AI live streaming. Our model was that we wanted to make things easier and make the interaction both for broadcasters and production much easier, as well as creating an experience for customer journey and the user. In this example that you see in the background, we provided 3 images, picture, screenshot of the young lady that you see with the logo, the Tech Talk logo by K Media, and the background. And then we created this video. So you can take a look at that.
A cutting-edge technology that merges artificial intelligence and real-time video broadcasting. This innovation enables content creators, often referred to as publishers, to engage with their audience in highly interactive and personalized ways. Through AI algorithms, the live streaming platform analyzes user input, preferences, and behavior, allowing the content publishers to respond in real time, tailoring the content to each viewer's interests and preferences. AI interactive live streaming with AI avatars is an innovative technology that replaces human live streamers with virtual hosts powered by artificial intelligence. These AI avatars can engage with the audience in real time, holding interactive conversations, responding to questions, and delivering content naturally. Let's take a look at the following examples.
or this are real human beings. In fact, we are digital humans. Now, through LiveStream GPT, you can generate...
Now, while you're waiting and watching this, I want to point out a few things because these are major achievements. The facial, the expressions, the emotion that you see in these digital avatars or digital human that we call by Dr. Teo is the importance of the fact that you're facing with the real experience rather than those 2D or 3D avatars that you have seen in Meta or in other services. You're dealing with the real time because rendering is always, as you all know, is a challenge, right? And now when you're building this kind of an experience, that's what it captures the audience. And I was totally amazed by what the lab has done.
One of yourself, like this in just 30 minutes. Just upload real person videos. In less than the time it takes to have a meal, you can have your own digital human. Once the digital human is generated, they can go live directly. I'm so thrilled to have all these avatars as my buddies. It's like having a whole group of digital friends to hang out with and chat. With 100 AI digital human available on our platform, you have a wide range of options to choose from. Each digital being comes with its own unique personality and characteristics, allowing you to find the perfect match for your brand and audience. But it also makes me a bit sad to realize that they're just digital creations. They may look and act real, but deep down, they're not actually living beings. It's like having imaginary friends that I can interact with. And there's this feeling of anguish that creeps in when I think about how these avatars are still controlled by LiveStream GPT, even though they can respond and engage with me. It's all thanks to the programming and algorithms behind it. As a LiveStream GPT digital human, we can display anguish, sadness, happiness, and more emotions. These AI digital beings are not just static avatars. They have the capability to interact with your audience in real time, answering questions, engaging in conversations, and providing valuable insights. Your viewers will be amazed by the level of interaction and engagement they can have with your digital host. So, why settle for traditional live streaming when you can take it to the next level with AI-powered digital human? Start creating your virtual persona today and revolutionize the way you connect with your audience.
So this is one example. On the sidebar in here, in this room, we have put a variety of options for you. For example, if you look at this one, you see it's for ABU iCDN, the one that we were just showcasing for you. Here is Singapore Airline, for example, that we are doing a project, for instance, that maybe it's good to share this and give you a little idea.
Welcome aboard Singapore Airlines, where your journey begins with curiosity and ends with discovery. We're proud to introduce our first-class service, designed to pamper you at every step, but what truly sets us apart is our dedication to making your travel experience unforgettable. Today, for the purpose of demonstrating interactive and emotion and multilingual capability and motion capture, I take over from AI NETSTAIRS. Ask me any questions.
我听说新加坡航空的头等舱提供精致的美食，这是真的吗？
您可以在3万英尺的高空享受精致美食，一个餐厅的环境，世界级的美食，您将在空中享受到难忘的用餐体验。使用订餐大厨，在您的飞行前至少24小时，选择来自广泛的餐点，包括受到我们国际烹饪专家组的美食。
What are the benefits and features for buying a first-class air ticket? Explain in German for me, please.
In der First-Class-Sitzung stehen Ihnen folgende Funktionen zur Verfügung. Sie können Ihr Hauptgericht bis zu 24 Stunden vor Ihrem Flug reservieren. Unsere Speisekarte enthält Kreationen von namhaften Köchen aus unserem internationalen kulinarischen Gremium. Genießen Sie an Bord in einem restaurantähnlichen Ambiente mit vollem Tischservice und wählen Sie aus einer Auswahl von Weinen, die das Essen und die Flughöhe perfekt ergänzen.
I am an AI avatar designed to provide accurate answers on topics related to SIA and various other subjects. I can access information from a database and respond to questions, even those unrelated to my main topics, using ChatGPT. Additionally, I can communicate in up to 10 different languages and 10 Chinese dialects. Just press a button, pose a question, deliver an answer and I can deliver responses with an accuracy of up to 98%. We are deployable in KISOC, social media, smart TV, website. Contact us if you need to hire us as your customer service or as your virtual sales.
So as you can see, there are different formats, different services available here. We encourage you to take a look at these. For instance, this is a service that was done for just experimental to show you how things work in an expression test. So these are monumental because being able to do this kind of algorithm in real time, where you build the digital human, the actors, the sponsors, promoters, people that can provide real-time service. So while we are looking at this kind of contents and so forth, we just want to make sure that you can appreciate that the major breakthrough that is coming out of a lab is being able to have a digital human, an actor, a celebrity, a movie star, and so forth. So these are some of the examples that it's been done collectively, so you can see the facial recognitions and everything else. So emotion in these algorithms were one of the key factors that it created the differentiation, because now real human like us, when we are encountering with the digital human inside of a data clean room, gives us the ability to provide a variety of service and interaction. So you look at here, for example, is for real-time translation. Or when we look at here as a digital human, you can see a human versus a digital human and how the transformation goes together. In here in the newsroom, for instance, if you're a fan of football, you see a commercial has been provided in here that you can click on it, and then it automatically.
Hey, Thomas, what's up? My friend Francis has invited us to watch the match at the pub. I hope I can make.
Now look at, it's personalized, right? It's not him. It's a digital avatar, but he's talking with the person, referring to the person, so it's creating the reference on that personalization.
Take it. If I can't be there, enjoy the game. And don't forget to bring the snacks. Ciao.
Okay. So with that in mind, we want to thank you for looking at some of these highlights, and now we can answer some of your questions. But like I said, feel free to look at some of those for the advertising, for the connections to the TikToks, for example, bringing capabilities that you could otherwise not realize, and then have that available to you. Back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, very interesting case studies, demonstrations are going on, but we have a quite a short time, and then so we just want to address some questions. I think one or two questions
Yeah.
already
One
there. Yeah,
question.
Vijay. Yeah, one question. Yeah,
Yeah.
Please. Maybe whoever wants to take that question. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shri.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
I can actually answer the question.
Right.
Yeah. You ask the question first.
What about hallucinating or fabricating feature of generative AI? How we avoid that while letting it interact with our audiences?
Well, actually, generative AI, right? Leveraging on this generative AI for audience interaction can be a very powerful tool, but it always comes with the responsibility to ensure that the technology does not create misleading or fabricated content. Yeah, I believe that this the person who asked the question is actually asking regarding the LLM and ChatGPT that's always come out with misleading questions. Yeah. So we have to start with the right data. The foundation of a responsible AI interaction is actually the quality of the training data. Yeah, ensure that the AI model learns from reliable sources. So when we are going to do newscasting, right, we need to have reliable, trustworthy sources first, and exclude all the unverified and biased information. So we will minimize the risk of generating misleading content. Second, we need to actually have a robust content moderation. We need to implement a comprehensive content moderation system that will actually combine automated algorithms and human oversight. This approach will actually filter out or flat out any potential harmful or deceptive content maintaining the integrity of the interaction. Third, we need to fine-tune the AI behavior. So because I'm an AI scientist, so we know how to actually customize AI models to adhere to the specific content guidelines. I believe that is called tail guard, yeah. And to actually make sure that it's actually have under some ethical standards by configuring the model to avoid generating deceptive or offensive content. You can actually exercise control over its behavior. Clearly define the rules and parameters to guide the AI content generation. Okay, and in fact, right, for this to do all this, right, I have a course to do that. So actually, it's a 9-step process in total. To keep the answer short, right, I'm just trying to tell you in generic what it can be done. If you need any help in to ensure that the model is ethical and is not deceptive, you can always contact us. Thank you.
Okay, there is one more question, Dr. Francis, from the same anonymous. What will happen if I ask to Singapore Airlines Avatar about anything else? Will it continue to answer me, or else what will happen?
Actually, this avatar itself, right, it has been connected to two major LLM. LLM is large language model. So currently, right, that video or that avatar is actually created as a demo. You see, um, we are integrating it to LLM. We can put 10 gig of PDF, 10 gig of storage data or database as a knowledge base for it to actually extract information from. So we call it private LLM, whereby we extract all the information only from controlled database, controlled knowledge base. Then if we want to actually to ask questions that is out of the database, we will actually connect it to a public database that is actually from ChatGPT or from Lumbar, that is actually from Google. So it really depends on what kind of questions that the users is asking. And if it's actually out of the database, out of the private database, it will actually will get the answer from the public database that is from ChatGPT and Lumbar. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Francis. Anonymous finally has said that he's got one last question. What will be the cost for me to include this service in my platform? Just an insight, please. Thanks for excellent presentation, by the way. Compliments to everybody.
Yeah, of course. This one is actually dependent on your the size of your work, whether you want to do it in the enterprise level or you want to do it at the small scale level. But of course, I have to put this out of the scope of this webinar. We can actually contact us internally via email, and we will understand the size, the scope of your project before we will give you any kind of pricing. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, Patrick is your man. You can always contact him. He'll be able to help you out on those numbers. But more importantly for us as an educator, we can definitely express the fact that cost comes in different format, from simple experiment, what we call bootstrapping, to a POC, a proof of concept, all the way to launching a complete platform. So needs requirements are created step by step that you can go through experimentation based on your needs and budget. And then as you build your data and your confidence, and as my esteemed colleague, Dr. Teo said, depending on your resolution, do you want to connect it into a specific database like Singapore Airline, that it just becomes a help desk about the travel agent, about the cancellation, terminal, latency, things in that nature, or you want it to become a knowledge that it talks about destination, locations, and so forth and so on. These are all opportunities and possibilities that we are all exploring together, and we love to have you all as a part of that journey. Back to you.
Definitely, you can contact me through VJ, because I'm still embarking the journey. So experiencing all the things that we are talking about today, the first party data clean room, privacy and security, these are the things that we are looking forward to. Thank you. Back to you, PJ.
We can be contacted at enquiry@kroom.my, which is our shop for enquiries, and we will be more than happy to provide any quotations. But most importantly is what we have seen today in with regards to AI is something a phase that we have taken a leapfrog stand, where now we are in the phase of interactive AI. And also, again, in the CDN space, we have taken an advantage by leapfrogging in the front with the iCDN model. So, thank you very much, everyone, for having us here. And please join us in our next show. We are probably going to have a lot of training sessions with ABU. And thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Dr. Francis Theo. And Dr. Moradi, your time, thank you so much because you have woken up for us in your wee hours of the morning to accommodate us in Asia. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Shri. Thank you, ABU, for your time. And thank you, the audience.
Thank you so much
Have
for
a
being
great
part
one,
of our
guys.
experience.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Really great, Vijay, Dr. Moradi, Dr. Theo, and Patrick. Really interesting. Actually, we would love to continue this type of webinar with you in the months to come. So for now, we need to close our session. So that is the end of the session. Thank you all the speakers and the really engaging questions from the audience. Thank you very much.